and good evening in India and Europe. Is there a link between the type of food we all of us eat and our moods? Can we control stress, anxiety, or even depression with a certain type of diet and foods? Exploring this relationship, we are going to talk to Sapna Kamdar, a registered dietitian and nutritionist. Sapna is an expert in recipe curation and designs healthy meal plans for managing obesity, lifestyle disorders like diabetes, and renal diseases. Well, I am Amita from Nourish Talk, a global platform for natural and holistic therapies. I'd like to introduce all of you to Sapna Kamdar, who's joining us live from Bombay, India. Welcome, Sapna.
Thank you so much, Amita, for such a warm welcome. And good morning, good evening to everyone who's watching us live, who's spared their valued time for watching us today. I hope this would be a value-added session for everyone who's watching, and we'll have a good discussion, Amita, together.
Great, great. So let's get started. When you use the word dare diet with depression, so let's get started as to what exactly do you mean?
Yeah. So when we hear the word diet, that itself is when we say dare is a very strong emotion, right? It's a very strong word that we're using against a particular disorder, and which is a very strong disorder like depression. And diet per se, if you see depression, there are two ways of looking at this. When depression is a disease or a disorder in itself, as the primary disorder is say a clinical type of depression, or maybe a postpartum depression, or maybe some seasonal kind of a depression, then it becomes a disease in itself, which may not be cured by diet per se. Like we may not be able to dare it directly with diet, because there are a lot of factors and a lot of causative factors that may have led to this particular depression or this particular condition. But we can definitely rule out the symptoms related to depression. And the second way to look at it is depression as one of the symptoms of the other underlying diseases, like comorbidities or lifestyle disorders like obesity, diabetes, or any kind of chronic illness, if you see, will lead to depression at a certain point, beyond a certain time, a certain point when you're suffering from that illness. So, and also, if you see, there is a strong link, always has been a link between mood and food. There are a lot of scientific studies which show that anxiety, depression, lethargy, or these kind of emotions, irritability, cravings for that matter, are a result from a poor or an imbalanced diet. So it can be a poor or imbalanced diet can actually lead to this particular condition or disorder, or it may further aggravate the condition or aggravate the disorder that the person already is having. So here, when we say depression or the diet and depression, we may not directly hit at the bullseye, but we may definitely look at the outer circles, targeting the outer circles of the board that we are looking at. So that way, I would like to put it as, Amita. Okay, so the next slide is the picture literally says that food and emotions, all of us know that good food and good mood are so very much related. Like if I'm happy, I enjoy the food that has been made, or I may maybe whip up some 10 variety of dishes for the family because I'm in a happy mood, I'm in a good mood. Or the choices of food that you may make while you're happy, when you're happy, would definitely be different from the foods that you're going to choose when you're not so happy, or when you're sad, or when you're depressed, or when you're anxious or angry, So it's a very what do you say, synergetically it's been affecting each other. So if I eat good food, I am in a good mood, and again, if I'm in a good mood, I may want to eat good food, or I may make good food. So that is how I put it, this thing as. Okay, moving on to the next slide. If you see, food is a very integral part of our daily lives and everything that we do, Amita. Not just it helps us in fueling our body or meeting the basic needs of giving energy. We always relate to food to various emotions. Like Indians, if you must be aware, Amita, that we are so used to having food every time, at every occasion. So whether if you're celebrating, whether you're happy or you're joyful, you may eat, you may throw a party, which have a like a huge spread of food. When you're upset, when you're depressed, again a sadness, and you relate it to food. Maybe there are times when would not want to eat when you're sad, or you're just eating out of compulsion, or you're being force feeded, especially for children. If you see, if we force feed the children, they don't like it at times. Or whenever you are depressed or sad, the only thing that you go on to, maybe to make yourself happy, would be just grab a bite of a chocolate, or maybe grab a burger or a pizza, just to feel that get that good feel good feeling. Again, if you see other strong emotions like tension, love, harm, punish, healing, cure, everywhere, if you see, there is a strong connection with food, right? Yeah. So here, if you see, there are certain kinds of foods that we can relate to having a very positive effect on our mood, on our body, not just on our physical health, but also on the mental health, right? And there are certain foods that we obviously you can have a look here on the left side, which has a very negative impact on my body as a whole, physically and mentally, right? So if you see on the right hand side, there are foods which are very much healthier, right? You have a lot of protein rich foods. You can see some fishes, you can see eggs, you can see nuts, you can see beans. So all of these foods which are mentioned here, are displayed here, are protein rich, protein in nature, right? So they have a very positive impact on not only on my health, but also on my mood. All right, because of the metabolism that the protein undergoes when it enters in our body, and how it impacts my brain. So we'll come to that later when we move ahead in the presentation. And the negative side, if you see, you can see all of these foods are junk food. If you must have noticed, Amita, most of them are sugary, refined, and what do you say, caffeinated beverages, and fast junk foods, high calorie foods, which not only everybody is aware that it not only affects our health physically, but also mentally. And there have been researches to prove that. All right. So one such just example I would like to give a quote here is about, there was a small research done on the prisoners. Prisoners, there were a set of people who had committed certain crimes, right? Which were more related to the psychological aspect of the crime, like say murder, or torturing someone, or physically abusing someone. So when their diet was altered, I'm talking about a Western research, right? So if you see, most of the Western diet is based on these sugary and high calorie and carbohydrate, refined carbohydrate based foods. So when they replace their diet with a much more healthier alternatives, like beans and protein rich lean protein, like fish and say chicken and beans, and a lot of vegetables are included into their diet, the result of the study actually proved that there was a drastic change in the social behavior, in the way they started behaving after seeing the impact of the food, the changes in the dietary habits that were brought about. So that's a very strong research, a very strong point, that definitely diet has a great role. The kind of choices of foods that you make have a greater role to play in one's food, in one's mood, behavior, social behavior, and also maybe going to the extent of such an aggressive behavior that a person or a criminal can show. So can we move to the next slide, Amita?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment on this, like, on the burgers and all the things that you just mentioned. I think with all honesty, a lot of us were not even aware, that, and, if you look at 15 years back, I think most of us were taking, sugary like cookies and, having carbonated drinks and sugary drinks without really
Right.
understanding, right? So without really understanding the impact that it can have on our moods or even on our health. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
right. So that's a comment that I do want to say, that, I don't think it, the users like us, we were not aware, eating hamburgers, too much hamburgers or too many French fries is going to
Yeah.
affect us, so that's the,
Exactly. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
To just support to the point that you made, Amita, we have always known as a layman, right? People have always known to understand the role of food it has on the physical, the outer self, the, like, if we say, like, if you see that eating a lot of fatty foods or French fries or burgers or sugar or aerated drinks, as you said, would have led to obesity, which is very physically visible, right? One may know, okay, it is physically harming me. At the most, even at the biochemical parameters that you may see, raised lipid profiles, altered hormonal balances. So these, we never thought at how these foods can actually impact our mood or impact our mental health as well. So that has recently come into so much of focus when we see a lot of suicidal tendencies that we see in the young people, youngsters, and a lot of crimes that are happening at a very young age, in the juvenile age. So that can be one of the reasons, or which is being overlooked. The effect of food on the mental health has always been out of focus, I would say. Okay, so here, if you see, as I mentioned earlier, that not only just the food or the behavior, if you see food cravings, okay, that we are very much familiar with. We women definitely would understand or know what food cravings are really, because every month we go through that cycle of menstrual cycle and PMS and the other phases of life that a woman goes through. So food cravings, if you see, Amita, are also a part of the emotional hunger, are most often an emotional hunger, right? So if you must be aware, there are two types of hunger. One is the physical hunger, wherein your body is actually deprived of the energy and the fuel, and your body is asking for food to survive, right? And emotional hunger is something that you would want food as a medium to fill in the gap, all right, fill in the lacuna that is there in terms of the emotion, right? Uh, it is the need for the comfort, the touch, the love, the support that you would want, maybe from relations or your professional life or your social life, that you would want. And you often see these kind of food cravings, they root up from these kind of emotional hunger that a person goes through. Here on the left hand side, Amita, it's a very interesting picture that I found, which is based on a Chinese medicine, all right? And it really relates how every organ is related to a particular craving. Any imbalance in any of these organs will lead to these kind of cravings. You would want these kind of foods, to satisfy, not just because your body asks for it, right? Your body speaks. And when there is an imbalance, you would want that particular kind of a food that you would crave for. So very interestingly, if we take heart as one of the organs, which is the emotion which is related to heart, Amita?
That's amazing.
What is the
Oh,
emotion
I
you
think the
would
love,
relate to?
the
Love,
love
yes.
would be right.
Yes,
The love,
yes.
and yeah,
Of course. So when you're in love, or maybe when you're in love, there is a lot of chemical locha that is happening inside your body, right? Or when you're
yeah,
deprived of love as well. Okay, let us look at the other side. When even you're deprived of love, there is a lot of imbalance that happens at the inside your body and mind. So you would crave for those kind of bitter foods like coffee, or you may when you've had a heartbreak, you would want to grab a piece of chocolate or maybe have some some ice cream just to soothe yourself. Similarly, when you're in love or you want to woo someone, you would send a bag full of chocolates, or you would go on a date or coffee date most of the times, right? So this is how you can actually relate your organs and the cravings and the emotions that are attached to it. Similarly, if you see liver is the main organ of our body, one of the main organs of our body, and it is majorly related to detoxifying, removing all the toxins from our body. So when there is impaired function of the liver, you would crave for certain sour foods. You would want these kind of sour foods to satisfy or to bring that balance again into the liver function. And similarly, if you're eating a lot of sour foods, it helps in maintaining the function of the liver. So whenever we are on a detox diet or we take the detox water, if you see the vinegar that we take, the ACV, the apple cider vinegar, fermented foods, they are all helping us in building up the health of liver. Right? So it's a very interesting thing about the Chinese medicine, how they relate each organ to the cravings. Moving on to the next slide, Amita. I hope I'm going on a proper speed.
Yeah. No, this is
Yeah?
good. This is good. This is
All
good.
right. Okay. So it's very important not just to have a good relationship with people around you, but it's very important to have a good relationship with the food, because eventually food is something on which you are surviving. Your body is surviving, your soul is surviving, you are surviving. And it's very important that how you maintain your relationship with the food. So how do you use food? Whether to enhance the pleasure, whether because you are happy, you're just going to binge it, or you're just going to hug in a big piece of cake, or maybe if you're feeling pain, or you're just trying to binge it just to avoid that pain, which is one of the major markers in obese people, if you must have seen, Amita, that they always relate food with pleasure. The moment or the thought of the food actually brings out that happiness and smile on their faces, and they feel happy and elated when they are eating the food. Similarly, if you're trying to avoid some kind of a pain, or having a feeling of loneliness or dissatisfied, you will just go back and lie on a couch, watch TV, and just have your bag full of chips or a tub full of ice cream, right? Also, similarly, if you see when you're having deeper cravings, or you're feeling dissatisfied in certain areas of your life, as I mentioned, professional or personal life, you should never make food as having a bad relation, or going to food as a therapist. Food is not a therapy. It is something that you require to survive and to live and to stay healthy. So also, if you see the very funny thing that happens with us, the health experts or the dietitians, we are always under that vigilance. People are always looking at the plate, that what am I eating, what are you eating. So even if there's a small piece of cake or a slice of pizza that I'm enjoying as a cheat meal, I'm always being looked at those eyes, oh my God, how can you, being a dietitian, how can you eat such a thing, so you're always if you're eating with that guilt and that shamefulness, or doing something wrong, it is definitely going to affect your health and worsen the relationship with the food, right? So here on images, if you see, they were like very interesting codes, that a person is going to an ice cream parlor and asking for an ice cream, saying that don't be sad, the flavor says don't be sad, or you deserve better. So I would say, do not build a relationship with food which will actually impact your health in a negative way, right? Yeah. So depression, what is depression? So depression is a very, very, what do you say, disorder, uh, which has recently gained a lot of importance, but we'll not go much into deep, about talking about depression here. I just wanted to list down certain certain what do you say, symptoms that are very directly connected to food, right? So if you see the ones that are bold, I don't think so it's been bold. Okay, so the trouble concentrating, fatigue, irritability, restlessness, aches, pains, digestive problems, these are all very much directly connected to your food and eating habits. Hence, food has a very, very strong role to play when it comes to mental health, depression for that matter, right? So moving on to the next slide. Yeah. So how does depression affect the eating patterns, right? So it is again a two-way thing, whether my eating patterns have led to depression, all right? So maybe in the cases of obesity or the other lifestyle conditions, or uh, till now we saw how the food affected my mood or the behavior. Now we need to understand how depression or stress for that matter, or any kind of mental illness is going to affect my eating pattern, right? Would you agree with me, Amita, right? So there are 4 different ways in which depression can affect your eating pattern. First is when you would start using foods to comfort yourself, all right? So the person who is under depression would, as I mentioned earlier, would want to eat those kind of foods which are starchy, which are sugary, which are high calorie foods, which are foods that are going to give pleasure not only to his tongue but his tummy, and he would have that feeling of happiness or joy, because that is the only option he is looking at. The food is the only option he's looking at to give him that happiness. So people may start using foods to comfort, which may further aggravate his condition, further lead to weight gain, and affect his behavior further. Second, again, would be overeating, obviously, because the person who is under stress or mental kind of a state which is rattled, you wouldn't understand the satiety level, when you've reached that satiety level, because your brain has stopped. You're in that state of mind wherein you just do not realize what you're doing, and that's the reason you keep on just binge eating, or maybe the connection between the brain and the stomach has been disrupted. There is a disruption which fails to send the signal to my brain that I'm full now, right? Which will again lead to conditions like weight gain and obesity, and again aggravate our condition. Opposite to that, there are some people who may start losing their appetite. So as we say, no size fits all. Similarly, there are different kinds of or different ways of responding to depression. Every person will have their own symptoms, their own set of ways of dealing or showing that effect of depression on them. So say maybe some who may actually start losing a lot of weight, who may doesn't have that feeling of eating, doesn't want to eat, or start feeling fatigued, nausea, bulimia. These are this is the impact that depression can have on certain people. And lastly is lack of motivation to cook or even look after your diet. So here the role of the caregivers or the family or the friends around the person undergoing some kind of trauma or mental health, they need to come into the picture, and they need to take care of the person who is actually going through this phase, because he is totally lost, right? He wouldn't want to get up from his bed. He wouldn't want to actually involve himself in the process of cooking, or maybe he's too tired actually or fatigued to even get up and make up his own meal, or he would just, it wouldn't be bothered to that what he's eating. He would if you give him a plate full of salad, if you give him a plate full of burgers, he wouldn't just be bothered about it, because he has lacked that motivation, right? So these are the 4 ways that the depression can affect. Yeah. So now, how do we tackle these food traps? What are the ways that wherein we can actually help the person going through this trauma, or help the person who's going through this kind of a mental state, right? Can we have the pointers, Amita? Yeah. So when we target the first particular point using foods to comfort, there can be ways to deal or tackle these kind of traps, right? So the person may be involved in alternative activities. He may be taught to identify the physical hunger. Remember, there is a vast difference between physical hunger and emotional hunger. So if you maintained a schedule, a particular time for his meals, and keep a track of his diet, that 12 o'clock is the lunch time, he needs to eat lunch at that time. 5 o'clock is the snack time, he needs to eat snack at that particular time, so that he doesn't binge in between just to satisfy his emotional hunger. Soothe your senses. One needs to soothe the senses, by various means of music or art or any kind of alternative therapies that can actually help the person relieve the symptoms. It's very important. The point is to talk to experts and take help. Very unfortunately, people don't go to experts thinking that I will be labeled as mad, I'll be labeled as somebody who has mental issues, or they're very apprehensive going to the doctor or talking to the experts or taking someone's help. So I would definitely want people to understand that it's very important to take help of the experts who are there to help you and sort your problem. Here again, there is a great role of therapists who can involve the caregiver, family, and the friends to help them do so. uh, Second point about eating too less, somebody who is wanting to eat less or have started eating less, there can be solutions like you can make simple to prepare, like simple and easy to make up meals or foods which can be eaten, which can be smaller in portions, and they can be given at a frequent interval, so that they are able to digest that kind of a food, that much amount of food. There's importance of exercise. One needs to exercise to release those kind of happy hormones in the body, which will again help them in that mental state that they're in. And you need to be motivated to start eating, right? Not to force feed, understand, not to force feed, but just to motivate the person to start eating, right? Overeating would definitely again bringing that awareness or education in the person and the caregivers around that. Let him not eat just to comfort. Again, identify the physical hunger, and most importantly, Amita, you can chalk off all the wrong foods from your pantry, from the kitchen. Why keep those kind of foods in the pantry, in the kitchen, which is high in calories or carbs or sugary or fatty foods? Keep them away. That's the best way a caregiver can help the person who's under what do you say, compromised mental health. You can replace with healthier options in the and make those kind of interesting foods to help him. Again, lack of motivation, if you see, there can be again pre-cooked meals or home delivered meals which can be sent to the person who can easily adapt to that kind of a routine. And again, plan and organize and schedule all the food related activities which will help them to overcome this particular phase. Next slide, please. Okay, now we come to a very important point here. It's about the gut-brain axis. Okay, now this, when you understand this particular mechanism that works in our body, you would clearly understand how the food or the choices of food that I'm making, Amita, is affecting my mental health. Right. So if you see, there is a very, very well designed mechanism that works in our body. Mother nature has worked beautifully on our body, and there is this connection. There is a bi-directional communication that is continuously happening between our central nervous system, that is the brain here that we're looking at, and the gut, that is my digestive system, my stomach, my intestine. All right. So if you see, there is a long connection between the brain and the stomach, the digestive, the gut, as we call it. All right. uh, Coming back to that, so when you hear the term gut feeling, okay, when you hear the term gut feeling, which is very much commonly heard, okay, that I have this gut feeling that this presentation is going to be great, right? So why do we say so? Because you feel from inside. Why do you say it's a gut feeling? Why can't you say that I'm feeling, just feeling, or I'm just mentally thinking that this presentation is going to be a good one. I always say my gut feeling says so. Why? Because most of your thinking, or most of your neurotransmitters are being produced into your gut, from your gut. All right. And that is the indirect connection. The neurotransmitters, the neurometabolites that are produced in my gut are actually controlling my brain, actually controlling parts of my brain that are related to controlling my emotions, who are regulating my mood, who's regulating my emotions like concentration, memory, and other varied emotions that a person may experience. So that is why we always term it as gut feeling. And most of the times your gut feeling is always right, right? As you would agree with me, Amita, right?
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah. So here, when we say there is a bi-directional communication, there are two mediums of communications that work synergistically, the one from the gut and one from the brain. Now, what is the medium of communication from my gut? It is the microbiota, the flora, the microflora, the thousands and trillions of bacteria, microorganisms that are found in my intestine, in my gut. They are the direct source of producing neuroactive compounds like neurotransmitters that regulate my mood and emotions. And when we talk about the neurotransmitter, here are the 5 major neurotransmitters that we are looking at when we talk about mental health or moods, how food is affecting my mood. And out of which serotonin plays a major role in regulating my mood and emotions. Again, interesting fact here, Amita, is that 95% of my serotonin is produced in my gut and not in my brain, right? So that is what is responsible for the term gut feeling. That is what is responsible for, altering if my stomach or if my gut is, there is a dysbiosis in my gut, it's definitely going to show an impact on my brain and my behavior and my mood. So is if you see those kind of disorders like psychological disorders like autism spectrum disease, or you may see schizophrenia, or any kind of depression, these there you see a lot of dysbiosis in the gut. There have been researches, there have been studies done on when they study the fecal matter of the children suffering from autism. They have seen there is a lot of dysbiosis that is present in the microflora in their gut, which is leading to these kind of imbalance in the the neurotransmitters or the regulation of emotions that happen. And the medium of communication from the brain side are the neurotransmitters again. So these neurotransmitters, they synergistically help my gut to maintain the homeostasis within my gut system. They send those kind of signals to my gut, to my intestine, to maintain a immune system. It helps in overall gut motility. It helps in so if you see if there's an imbalance in the neurotransmitters, you can see what do you say, it has an inflammatory effect on my cells, the gut cells, intestinal cells, which may further lead to certain inflammatory diseases, certain like ulcerative colitis. It can cause gut permeability, leaky gut as we call. So it is very important that we maintain this balance between this bidirectional communication that happens between my brain and the gut. All right. And very interestingly, if you see, mental stress has been found to affect the microbiota. Right. It has been found that any kind of mental stress is going to affect my the working of my gut, the functioning of my gut, and it may alter the number of microflora in my gut, also its function that the microbiota is going to do. So mental stress has it increases the levels of cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone which is released when somebody is under stress, and which is directly affecting my microbiota, and indirectly microbiota is further affecting my brain. Okay, so it's a very two-way synergistic communication that happens and working that happens. And here is the role of probiotics and prebiotics that come into the picture, wherein ingesting those kind of foods which are rich in fiber, omega-3 fatty acids, or fermented foods, or say curd or vinegar or kefir, these kind of foods which is going to maintain good gut health, is definitely going to impact my mental health as well. Moving on
That's
to the
very
next.
interesting. We
Yeah,
have only
yeah.
10 minutes left because
Okay. Yeah.
we need
Yeah.
to leave 10 minutes for question and answers.
Right.
So
Right.
we have
Yeah.
to, I
Okay.
think we can just move on.
Yeah, we'll rush through these slides.
Yeah, yeah.
It is something that I just mentioned, that how your healthy nervous system and
Sure.
how does your abnormal gut function affect your functioning of the central nervous system, and here how does the healthy gut helps or works or maintains the healthy status of my CNS, the central nervous system.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Next slide. Yeah. So again, here is a picture of the type of microflora and its functions that have been mentioned here, which just discussed in the first slide itself. We can rush to this as well. Yeah, so here is the role of neurotransmitters, specifically that is dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. These are the three important neurotransmitters that one needs to pay attention to. And interestingly, it's very, very simple and very, very easy to alter the the levels or the functions of these neurotransmitters via food. So there are certain choices of foods that you can make. There are certain lifestyle changes that you can bring about on a regular basis, and eating those kind of foods are definitely going to help in maintaining the levels of these three neurotransmitters in the body. Also, if you see, there have been like as we say ki murgi pehle aayi ya anda pehle aaya, whether it was the chicken or the egg which has come first. So whether depression has caused an altered level or functioning, or altered the functions of dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin levels in the body, or whether it is because of the levels of dopamine and these like serotonin and norepinephrine were altered, and then that is the reason depression has caused. So we do not exactly know the relation here, whether depression has caused this particular alteration in the neurotransmitter levels, or altered levels of neurotransmitters have led to depression. So that is a question still to be answered. Yeah. Right. So when we talk about serotonin, as I'd already mentioned, it's a very important neurotransmitter which affects your mood, your social behavior, healthy sleeping patterns, because it is a precursor of melatonin, which is the sleep hormone that can induce sleep into you, right? And again, which is a happy hormone. So whenever you feel happy, there's a lot of serotonin which is produced in our body. And there are certain foods besides the other points that are mentioned here on the slide, which you can do to increase the level of serotonin. There are specific foods which are rich in protein, and a particular amino acid called tryptophan, which is a precursor of serotonin, right? So tryptophan gets converted to serotonin, and serotonin has a role to play in modulating or regulating my mood and behavior. So there are foods listed here like cheese, pineapple, eggs, tofu, salmon, nuts and oil seeds, and complex carbohydrates that are actually going to help you increase the levels of serotonin in your body. But again, the most, the mistakes that most of us make is nothing is going to change overnight. The changes, the problems, the disorder that has happened over years of wrong eating habits or wrong lifestyle or wrong kind of life that you've been living. So nothing is going to change overnight. So if I say, if I'm going to eat pineapple today and tofu today, and I've eaten cheese also today, so I'm going to feel happy. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to be consistent. You need to be regular in the diet that you're going to follow, and bring about those lifestyle changes to see the real effect on your physical and mental health. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, dopamine, as I said, was an important neurotransmitter, which is actually a what do you say, neurotransmitter of motivation and reward, that gives you feeling of motivated and reward. So low levels of dopamine were found in bipolar, schizophrenia, and ADHD people. And if you see, deficiency can also lead to feeling of hopelessness and lack of interest. If you see those, one of the symptoms in depression was lack of interest in food, right? So this including tyrosine rich foods, which tyrosine is an amino acid which help produce dopamine in the body. So these are the foods listed here which are rich in tyrosine and which help support the healthy levels of dopamine in your body. Next slide, please. Yeah. The last neurotransmitter is norepinephrine, or adrenaline, as we call the fight or flight hormone. It works as a hormone as well, and it helps in improving the alertness and energy and the mood and ability to concentrate. And again, the foods which are rich in protein or amino acid tryptophan, as we saw in the previous slide, you can opt for beans, legumes, bananas, oats, fish, dairy products. All of these foods, when they're incorporated into your meals on a regular basis, will definitely impact the levels of these neurotransmitters and hormones in your body. Next slide, please. Yeah, so how to deal with depression naturally, like natural foods and remedies. Next slide, please. Yeah. So one way is by incorporating the anti-inflammatory diet. In anti-inflammatory, as we know, the inflammation is something which is can lead from a free radical damage, or eating wrong kind of foods, or sugary or starch, refined carbs, or caffeinated or aerated beverages. These are all the wrong junk foods which may cause a lot of inflammation into your body, into your digestive system, into the intestinal cells, which may lead to further lead to dysbiosis and other lifestyle disorders. So one needs to focus on a plant-based lean protein-based diet, which is anti-inflammatory in nature, which is fiber rich, which is rich in good fats, which, and again, the sources, if you see here, are almost same as we saw in the previous slides. There's a lot of greens, a lot of beans, a lot of fruits and avocado, good fats, and protein rich foods that are that makes an anti-inflammatory meal plan, and it works best for people with mental disorders or having deprived mental health. Next slide, please. Okay, so one needs to feed the brain with a lot of antioxidants, a lot of vitamin D, vitamin C rich foods, magnesium, selenium, zinc, complex carbohydrates, proteins, good fats, and chromium. So these are the major nutrients that one need to concentrate on while you're planning a diet for a person suffering from any kind of mental disorder. And again, these are the foods that can help for a healthy brain. Next slide, please. Yeah. So here, these are some of the recipes, some of the foods that I have made, and I put it on my social media page. And you can see that there is a misconception that healthy is boring. Everybody thinks healthy is always boring. It doesn't have any taste. So here is a very good example, and I've displayed a wide range of recipes which are based on the nutrients that we discussed previously, which will foods that are good for your brains, right? So there is a hummus, chickpea hummus. There is a quesadilla, which is again a complex carb. There are protein pancakes made from dals and beans. There is a platter of bean and a pasta salad. There is paneer bhurji. There is sprout salad. So a lot of interesting recipes that can be incorporated into your meal, which are which has a good eye appeal, which are simple, quick to make, and just important to keep in mind the portion size that you're supposed to eat as per your body type. So it's not that you can eat anything and everything, right? So here is another myriad of recipes which incorporates a lot of vegetables in the form of a Mexican taco salad. There is a fiber-rich chutney made from the peels of the rich gourd. There is a multigrain pizza, which is loaded with vegetables. There is nuts, there's a pineapple, and a lettuce salad. There is stuffed cucumber bites, which are again protein rich, filled up with a lot of hummus and paneer based stuffing. So these are the simple ideas that you can actually have. Yeah, and these are some of the sweet treats that you can have, healthier sweet treats to satisfy your sweet cravings. So there is a healthy mango mousse, there is a pineapple pancake, there is a yogurt, there is a fruit pizza, there is muesli balls, there is a smoothie, and a hot chocolate, soya based hot chocolate drinks. So you can definitely reach out to these kind of healthier options when you're feeling that sugar cravings. And very important these days, we talk about a lot of supplements, nutraceuticals, which may help these kind of mental health or mental disorders, like especially depression, when we talk about depression. But again, these are just, I have displayed the ones which are available locally and which are being used effectively over the years. But that does not mean that you can just go and buy and start using it for yourself. You need to consult an expert, you need to consult your doctor, and then start taking these kind of supplements which are suitable for your particular condition. So it's a very, very specific thing to do, that you consult your an expert. Okay, so very interesting. From the kitchen, what can you do from your own kitchen, your own masala box that you can open from the kitchen? And these are some of the remedies that you can try with cardamom, that is your elaichi. You can powder it, add to your tea, add to your maybe any of the foods that you're eating, your yogurts. Then there is celery, which can be juiced and mixed with honey before sleeping, which will give us very soothing effect on your mind. There are cloves, which again helps in boosting the GI function, the gut health, remember, which is very important. Nutmeg is again a very much proven and an age-old remedy for inducing sleep and reducing irritability. So just powder some nutmeg and mix it in warm milk and have it, before going to bed, and you'll have a good sound sleep. Or you could mix it with your amla juice and have it as a shot early in the morning, just to freshen up. And pepper again helps in the gut health. There is sage, which helps in coping up with the stress, again has a direct effect on your brain function and your mood and your improves your mental power and alertness. Saffron, which is a kesar. So kesar can be had 1.5 gram daily, or maybe 100 grams, 30 mg of extract added to your milk or any of the other food items that you're having to relieve PMS and increase your concentration and mood. And mint, of course, it helps in calming the frazzled nerves, has a very cooling effect on your mind. So these are some of the remedies that you can try at home. Again, these are not like the cures, but it really helps relieving or managing the symptoms related to disturbed mental health or depression, for that matter. And of course, yeah, all the lifestyle changes or the natural ways of having a sound mental health would be organizing yourself, get into a routine, set daily goals for yourself. Exercise is very important. Eat healthy, of course, I'm there to help. Get enough sleep, follow all the remedies that I've just mentioned, take on the responsibilities of your own health, of your own body, challenge all the negative thoughts, do something new always, try to keep on motivating yourself. Most importantly, meditate and relax your mind and have fun and keep smiling to have a happy and a healthy life.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's really amazing. I think
amazing.
Lot of information. So what we are, so we are open for questions. I see attendees in the Zoom. I know it's a bit early. I don't know where you are from. It's after 8 o'clock for me here in California, and if you are from the West Coast or you're from overseas, from India or any other part of the world, we are open for questions. So if you have any questions, please let us know. Okay, so I feel that there was a lot of information to digest.
Yeah.
So there is a question coming up. So informative. I could not agree with you more. It was
Thank you so
a
much.
lot of information.
I'm sorry, we had to rush a little because
That's
of the
okay.
time constraint, but
yeah, no,
I
we
hope I
typically
could.
do 1 hour so that we, what we're going to do is we're going to start group workshops where you will have more time to go through each and every detail.
Yeah,
And
right.
right now, we're just giving educational sessions so for people to digest some of the information. The
Right.
other thing, what we're going to start doing is, please, I'm waiting for questions before I wrap up. Okay, you want to learn more? Yes, we are going to have a group workshop, because so that Sapna is not in a rush to go through the entire material. So we'll work with we'll bring Sapna back for a group workshop. The other thing what we can do also is that have Sapna come to our Instagram channel and talk about only one thing at a time, like you can digest one simple recipe or one simple dopamine or serotonin or one just concept. So these are a very overview sessions, so please don't get overwhelmed. We have written our email here. You can digest the information that has been given to you by Sapna, and you can reach out to us if you cannot come up with any questions right now. That's perfectly fine. So, all right. So thank you so much, Sapna, for being with us. With that, I'd like to wrap up this session. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take it. Can you talk about chronic pain?
Chronic pain, yeah.
We can spend a minute, but we'll have to wrap up this session and soon.
So chronic pain, yeah, it's a very vague question actually. Chronic pain in terms of what? Yeah, like you need to specify as to.
Yeah, I think that the question should be related to anxiety, depression. We can have another session on chronic pain, or if you want to have
we could.
Details, you're welcome to reach out to us. I've written our email, and we can put you in touch with Sapna. There's no problem. Okay. So, any other comments from the audience before I wrap up? Okay, let me just see.
Thank you, Meenu, for watching.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for watching, everyone. And with that, I'd like to wrap up this session. Sapna, thank you so much. Amazing, amazing. Lot of information, for us to digest, but good information. Really good information. What is the final comment that you want to say? Yes, you said be happy, exercise, eat well. What else would you say in your final comment before we wrap up?
Yeah, so the final comments would be just related to this particular session, that these are all a lot of information that we've given. That doesn't mean that you can just start, experimenting or doing things on your own, just, listening to this. This is not a very, it's a very subjective and a very, individual approach that one person would require. So, just because you have certain kind of symptoms, or you must be going through these kind of deprived mental state, doesn't mean that you start doing things on your own. I would say that reach out to a therapist, talk to your expert, consult a dietitian, a qualified dietitian, and let the experts help you overcome this particular disorder in the right way, in a proper guided manner. So just don't follow any vague information available on net, or any kind of general advice that can go or come to you. So it's always.
I think that's a great. That's a great advice. Like we also provide, these are educational sessions, so please don't take it as expert advice. It's nice to talk about journal stuff. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Amita. Thank you for having me.
Please share and help us spread the word of natural health. With that, thank you so much. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.